Hey, what's up everybody? Today I'm going to be replacing the stock air cleaner on my 2019 Harley-Davidson 48 Special. And the one that I'm installing today is the Arlen Ness Big Sucker Stage 1 air cleaner kit. So let's see what's in the box. Now I did choose the one with the black cover, the flat black cover, to go on this bike. I'm trying to cut down on some of the chrome and some of the gloss that's on here. Eventually I'm hoping to get the exhaust to look like the same color too, so kind of like a matte black finish. Okay, so here we have our backing plate. And then our hardware kit here, and we have our filter and our cover. So there are going to be some parts in this kit that I'm not going to need today. I think these parts in here are for a different kind of bike. So we'll have to see after looking through the directions. A little note on the filter that I chose today. I did get the stainless steel one instead of the paper one, so I'm hoping this will be easier to clean and it will hold up a lot longer. According to the instructions here, you're basically just supposed to tap this or brush it to get loose debris off of here, and then you clean it using a mild degreaser like Simple Green or Formula 409. So that's cool. Maintenance on here should be pretty easy. Okay, I'm going to start out by removing this bolt holding the air cleaner cover on. This is a 3/16 hex driver on here. This looks like a good fit. So this one is a T27 Torx bit. Now, full disclosure, I am not a mechanic, so do this at your own risk. The parts and stuff that you run across on your bike may be different than mine. Okay, so the next thing to do is to uninstall the breather bolts that are holding this back plate on. This one is a 14mm. So the final disassembly step is to remove this back bracket here. We're not going to need that with the new backing plate. This is also a 3/16 hex driver. I'm just going to wipe this down, get off any residual Loctite or grease that may be present on here. I'm going to try to just put this bolt back in place just so I don't have an open hole in here and so I don't misplace it if I need it later. Yeah, that's going to fit just fine. Okay, now I'm going to prepare these 3 standoffs that go into the throttle body. Now I've seen this done 2 different ways. Some people will put some thread locker here, thread this end into here all the way down until it bottoms out, and then they'll use that to prepare this. And I've seen some other people that will put some thread locker on this end and they'll thread them directly into the throttle body. And I can see benefits of doing it that way, because then you can You can hold your gaskets over here with these until you get everything seated, and then you can go ahead and just screw these on the other end. But I'm going to follow the directions from Arlen Ness, and they recommend just preparing these bolts with some thread locker. Leave the hex end open. This is a 1/8 inch hex wrench, and then you can just use that to kind of snug these down. I'm also being very careful not to cross thread anything. That would be a really bad day. Okay, now that the standoffs are prepared, I'm going to move on to the next step. Okay, so for my bike, I'm not going to need these 2 bolts and washers, and I will instead be using these banjo bolts and banjo bolt washers. Now the directions do not say to put Loctite in here, so I'm not going to at this time. And I do also have 4 of these washers. Now they have recommended to use high temperature grease to kind of hold these into the backing plate while you're putting everything together. So I picked up this SuperTech multi-duty complex grease because it says it's good for high temperature applications, and we're basically only using this as like a sort of a glue to hold everything together while we put it on the bike. So I'm just going to take a little bit of this grease and kind of put it on the ends here. I'm going to try to keep it in this little channel here so I don't get any grease onto the inside where the banjo bolts are going to be. Putting a little bit on the front too. Okay, these have to go in a certain order. You have to do gasket, metal spacer, and then another gasket. And those will sit on there just like that. So next I'm going to put some Loctite on these standoffs here. Just getting a couple of these standoffs in place that hopefully hold these gaskets on while I get this installed. I'm making sure my O-rings are still in place before I go and put this on. Again, make sure not to cross thread these. Just hand tightening these for right now. Okay, finally I'm putting the breather bolts on. This is a 1/4 inch hex. So right now I'm going to torque down these standoffs. Now the manual recommends 3 to 5 foot-pounds, which is about 36 to 50 inch-pounds, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm kind of going to stick on the low end and do it around 40 inch-pounds. So I have a 13 millimeter socket on here, and my torque wrench is set for 40 inch-pounds. There it goes. That's it. Next I'm going to torque down the banjo bolts. Now the instructions recommend 10 to 12 foot-pounds. Again, I'm going to stay on the lower end and go with 10 foot-pounds, which translates into 120 inch-pounds. There it goes. Again, your torque settings may be different than mine, so make sure to look at your service manual and the directions very carefully. Okay, next up I'm going to install the filter element. So I'm going to put some Loctite on these screws as well. And these screws are 5/32 hex. Again, I'm going to be using 40 inch-pounds on this, 3 to 5 foot-pounds. I'm going to leave all these screws a little bit loose until I get them all lined up right. Again, careful not to cross-thread these. There they go. Okay, now that they're all lined up and just hand tightened, I'm going to torque them down. Okay, I believe the spacer just goes on the back like this. Let's find out. One last bit of thread locker on this one. And this one's back to a 3/16 again. I'm going to torque this one down just because I don't want to lose a screw. Recommended settings are again 3 to 5 foot-pounds, so I'm going to use 40 inch-pounds again. So now that the air cleaner is installed, I need to put a new tune on here on the Vance & Hines Fuel Pack FP3. Now when I installed the FP3, I was going to leave it on the bike, but I decided that I don't actually access any of the sensor data, so in order to keep it safe, I decided to disconnect it when I'm not using it. So again, the location of the data port on the 2019 48 Special, it's going to be further down here. So the data port's way down under here. So I'll plug in the FP3. We're going to put a new tune on there, and then I'll disconnect it again. Flip the power on. Okay, so when I installed the FP3, I just put a stock map on here because I had not done any upgrades yet. So we want to search for a map. So it doesn't look like there is a map that has the stock exhaust with a high flow air filter. So I'm probably going to have to choose this one. Slip-ons, standard baffle, and then stock 1200cc with high flow air filter. Turn the bike off for 30 seconds. Okay, it's all set. So if I have any problems with this map, I'm going to just default back to the stock one that I was running before. It should still help with the high flow air cleaner. Now, I'm confident that once I get the exhaust on here, I'll have a map that will closely match what I actually have. So now that this map is installed, I'm going to turn off the bike, disconnect the FP3, and go and take it for a test ride. So that's how you install an Arlen Ness Big Sucker air cleaner on a 2019 Harley 48 Special. Hope you enjoyed the video today. If you liked it, click the like button. Click the subscribe button if you haven't already. Till next time.